with Ace Dubois. He's our co-host today. We try to do a little technical thing, but I forget the number, man. You know, how can I forget the number? Jeez. Let me see. Hold on. I can try something. 359. Well, I can't say it loud. Okay. I got it.
It's inconceivable.
I got it.
No,
I got it.
You know,
I got it. It's so many numbers. Yeah. And you know, I don't speed dial. I just remember the number by heart.
Yeah, well, you know, that's one number. You have no excuse.
No.
For not remembering.
But she has multiple numbers, you know?
Multiple numbers?
Yeah, man. She's a multiple number woman. Yeah, I can tell you this now.
Yeah, well, this better work.
Hey. Hey, girl. How you doing?
You're so cool. What's up?
So you didn't have no surgery on your mouth?
I see my boy on your show.
No, Ace is on our show.
And you know what? He called me today. So sweet. He's such a sweetie pie to check on me. Hey.
How you doing, Rogan?
Excuse me. Did I not
Good to
check
talk
on
to
you?
again. Didn't expect I'll be doing it from here.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Oh, Ace said I just came back from Brussels. I think, man, Ace, you can take
You come from where?
trips and you go.
Hold on.
Listen, I deliberately did not mention
Stop.
that at the end.
Stop. Let me tell you what this sucker did, man. You know, I can't take it, you know. So he comes, Rogan, can you hear me?
Yes.
So let me tell you what he did. He comes in here, right? And he says, boy, you know, I bring you something. And, you know, I was going to say something, but I decided to hold on. But now I can give you you can get the full thing. So he says, I brought you something. So he brings me. It looked like something like something that break off the top of a cane or something like that. You know, like it's a little piece of wood.
Oh.
Like it broke off the top of a chair or something like that. I don't even know what it was. It's just a piece of wood. And
Like a little antique something?
It ain't no antique.
What he picked up in their version of the straw market?
No, listen to this now. Listen to this. And it's a keychain. Of course, at least I didn't have to be described how to use it. And it says on it, Rwanda. Now, hold on. Don't say nothing. I thought to myself, this sucker went to Rwanda like in September. So this is a used gift. That's what I thought. So you can get the full brunt now. This is a used gift. And now you telling me he been to Brussels.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Do you want some chocolate, Ed?
Your boy bringing me previous trip gifts.
You should be grateful.
I knew that would get him,
You're
Rogan.
doing great.
I knew that would get him.
You should be happy what you bring in from your travels.
No, he
Nothing.
was here to get nothing.
See, well, listen, he gave me such a hard time for telling him I was going to Rwanda. I don't know if you remember the last show I was here. I'm in Heathrow on the way to Nairobi. That's what I got, right?
Now you're going to Brussels.
Now Brussels.
I don't care.
He's a world traveler.
If I was in control, you know what I'd say to you.
Yeah, no, let's be controlled
Your
tonight.
boy bring me, this is a new category now. A PTG. A PTG. You know what a PTG is?
No.
A previous trip gift.
Yeah, okay.
This ain't a current trip gift.
Listen, I thought of you, Ed.
Well, I appreciate your thought. Right now, he had this in his pocket. He take your keys off this to get him in. Listen, Rogan, on a more serious note, how are you feeling? Let your fans know how you're feeling.
I'm doing okay. I'm in recovery from, my shoulder surgery that I had, a few weeks back.
Uh-huh.
So my days are filled going to therapy so I can get my range of motion back,
So you can't move your arm?
Well, I can do much better now. I was just telling my therapist today I couldn't even raise my right arm like when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even I went to I had to bathe initially because I had stitches and everything, and go to wash under my arm. I couldn't even get under there.
So in other words,
It was funky.
a little frogs might have built up there.
It was funky. One arm was smelling good and the other one wasn't. I ain't gonna lie.
Rogan, you need to go in the sea. Go get some salt water on that
That's
arm.
what everyone
Come
says.
on.
I'm telling you,
I'm afraid
Ed.
to move the right arm.
Listen, no, you don't have to move it. You just go there and be in the water.
Can I say something to you, Ace Newbo?
Listen, I did it with my back, Ed.
Yeah, okay. Let me say something to you.
okay.
Let me say something to y'all. This is like people with
need to
these
try
cures, right? Let me say something to you.
No.
If you think,
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right.
It's just a statement.
Right.
If the sea,
Yes.
going in the sea would cure things like that, don't you think we'd just have a whole bunch of people in the sea every day?
No,
Yeah,
we
and
wouldn't.
they just don't go.
No, we wouldn't. We
I've
won't
heard
do
it's
it.
good therapy.
By the way, if you know how I can prove it's wrong? Why do fish get sick? Okay.
Oh God! Listen, fish gets sick, Ed.
You just as full as I left you on November 20th.
Yeah.
You got whales beaching up.
Yeah. They got sick because of what we put in there.
Okay, that's true. Listen, Rogan, I'm hoping that you get well and
Thank you.
and come back soon.
Rogan, I didn't think I'd be talking to you again today.
Huh?
But I didn't think I'd be talking to you twice in one day. But
You know what's so funny? When you called me, I was gonna call Ed and say you need to get Ace on the show. I swear on everything. But I said you're probably busy because you had some background noise. So I'm glad to hear you're on the show.
Yeah,
It's
he probably
good.
was trying to
No matter
find that
your word,
key
you
chain.
always come through.
yeah, it's good. It's good to be here. But you
Always.
hurry up and get back because it's better to have you here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, I have to extend my sympathy to the Cox family. You know,
Erica Wells Cox,
Yes,
her mother-in-law
yes.
died, and John Edward Cox, his mother. So
Yeah.
sympathies to Georgie and John Edward and Shelter and Story and Erica and all
It's
the
very
family
sad.
and friends.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, fellas. Have a great show.
Take care.
Okay,
All
take
right.
care.
Bye.
Bye, Rogan.
All right. Well, that's good. We got an update. She's alive, and that's good to know. But listen, Ace Newbold, thanks for
my pleasure.
sitting in.
Yeah, my pleasure.
On that emergency basis, we try to plan ahead, but things happen. Things
All the
come up.
time.
So
All the time.
listen. I guess the big elephant in the room, and I'll preface it by saying, just reporting on obviously what has happened over the last several hours with the political situation. And that is, of course, and I haven't been following it. I have been boycotting media from November 8th. That was in the election, okay?
Okay.
Okay, because I can't take it.
shouldn't.
I can't take it. No, I
Yes,
can't.
it's tough.
I've been boycotting it because it was we talk about the media all the time, but that election, November 8th, was a lesson, right, in how distorted the whole thing has become. Because it's just opinion after opinion after opinion given as if it's news.
Well, that's because instead of you having news on the hour every hour,
You have opinion.
you have talk shows.
Yeah.
That's what they are,
yeah.
masquerading as news.
yeah, they're
and
not,
people, somebody comes on at 4 o'clock, Wolf comes on at 4 o'clock with whomever he's talking to, and people think he's coming on with the news. It's not news,
not the news.
it's opinions.
Walter Cronkite is the news.
Yeah, well.
So and this crew don't even know about that.
They don't
kind of
even
stuff,
know
yeah.
who
So they
Walter
think this is the
Cronkite
news.
is.
So they
Yeah.
think this is the news.
Yeah.
I assume it's like if you were a caveman, you'd think beating drums was the news. So it doesn't matter. But having said,
I know.
but having said that, so you hear what's happened, and it would be kind of remiss if we didn't comment on it. But
Everybody's commenting on it.
I tried, and it'll be a very small segment of the show. But here's the thing with the Free National Movement and the Heyman politics in general. And this is why, by the way, and I'm going to encapsulate it by talking about this movement, this We March movement, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you're ever ripe for that type of thing, it's almost like it's a self-fulfilling scenario, right? Because a void is being created.
Yeah, a void is there.
Right.
Something will fill it.
Right. And it's widening. The void is widening or deepening now, right? But my analysis of this thing is this. This country has no ideological bent. Okay? There was a cause that happened in the 50s.
50s.
Okay. The cause was a very stark thing. and I think, to be quite honest with you, many of us classify that cause as white versus black, as opposed to, I think it was, even in those days, class versus class. But evidently on the thing was white versus black, right?
Yeah.
Because it's coming to light now, its history is amazing, how many white people felt outside. Yeah, they could go to the Savoy.
Yeah,
but they couldn't get.
But
they couldn't get into the economic.
No, and socially they were at the bottom.
They
were
at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So, what they had was a cause. Ace Newbold. The UBP had its first party, but the PLP was born out of this cause. Okay. We haven't had a cause since then. And what really happened that made the FNM, which is our second party of record for the last 40 years, 30 plus
40.
years, right? Mm-hmm. Is the dissatisfaction with the PLP.
That is true.
That was the kind of ideological split, the dissatisfaction with the leadership or the leadership style of the PLP.
I was going to say that because it wasn't the dissatisfaction with the PLP.
No, the leadership style.
In fact,
right.
I heard somebody who was a part of that say they believe that they are more PLP than the people who remained in the PLP.
And that would be natural for people to.
No, the PLP was on an ideology,
right?
Some principles that
they fell away from,
and so
people split. So what you had is a party. This is the FNM now, born out of faction, fissure, right? Dissatisfaction, and if you trace the history, and I'm going to take a lot of heat for this, because I can only think of one example in the history of the Free National Movement, where when the leadership was challenged in the FNM, and I'm thinking more recent history, say since even Cecil Wallace Whitfield, right? And when you think about the whole, and it just occurred to me, the whole basis of FNMism was dissatisfaction with the leadership, because they were dissatisfied with the Pinling leadership or the Pinling style.
Right.
So that is their modus operandi from the beginning. That was their placenta, so to speak, right? And so what has happened since then? Time after time, the FNM lost election after election because why? They continued to split. They continued not to be satisfied with their leadership. There was one instance, and I'm gonna have to claim conflict of interest here, where, and I can tell you of this scenario, where when the leader lost, and this is Tommy Turnquest, okay, that rather than split and run away, at that particular instance, he went on that stage and said, we're a team, we're going to go forward. No matter how he might have felt, and believe me, trust me, I know how he felt, okay? But the reality is that because he could have gone off on the side and say, well, I'm for this, and take a third of his people with him. Right. So when you look at all of the players, and they can be offended as much as they want, these are historical datum, okay? Whether it's Tennyson Wells, Pierre Puech, Algernon Allen, Loretta Butler Turner, Brian McCartney, and you can go back further in some instances. These folks were not happy with the outcome of whatever was put in front of them. So now that's where we are now.
Yeah, and in most cases you have people saying that whole process was flawed, it's bad, so I'm gone. I don't want to be a part of it. Except,
game come.
Except for the last name you called.
Brian McCartney?
No.
Loretta Butler Turner?
Last name? Loretta Butler Turner.
Well, she lost the first election.
Yeah, and she lost again.
And then she withdrew.
Well, she withdrew, but she said the process was flawed.
You see, but that's game come. That's like when we go. That's when we go and play marbles or play basketball, right? And someone called foul on you.
Right.
I said, "That's my ball."
Okay.
I gone.
But it's not her ball.
But that's what they, even or I quit. I quit. That kind of thing where you walk off the court and what happens is no one get to play.
Yeah. Well, she hasn't said that she don't want. She will have to choose, I believe, because, well, where it stands now, from everything I've heard, the leader has invited them to resign.
Listen, man.
But as far as I know, as far as she and the other 6 are concerned, they were doing what they were doing on behalf of the FNM.
Listen, the metaphor is the metaphor. Okay?
Okay.
All right? When you decide to say to someone, I want you as my captain, using the basketball thing now, right?
Okay.
The captain, who I'm not picking sides here. I'm just stating observational fact, right? The captain can either say, well, you all get off my team, or I quit.
True.
Okay, well, either way, you're going to end up with two different teams.
Well,
okay.
Obviously, the Free National Movement has been heading in that direction for a while.
So,
I've said this publicly. I continue to say it publicly and privately. I believe that from the first moment that the 6 or 7 of them, however many they were, said that they had no confidence in his leadership. They needed to either convince the rest of the party that he was no good.
The party, not the public.
The party, or they should have walked away.
Yeah.
And I don't think Dr. Minnis, whomever his advisors were, and it's his call, I don't run the FNM, or I'm not a member of the party, I wouldn't have given any of them a nomination. And because of what they said, they shouldn't have accepted it from him if he offered it to them. They went to the public and said, this guy's incompetent. He's crooked.
It's Trumpian. And now look at these guys. Look at these guys lined up now. Look at Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney said he called him the worst days impossible. Now he's looking at Secretary of State.
So the public says, I don't know about you politicians. None of y'all are worth nothing.
And when we come back, and by the way, our guest is Ian Poitier today, and we're going to talk about the National Development Plan and the cultural side, but we're going to talk about this until he gets here. When we come back, we'll talk about, that perception and why we have only 38% registration.
Okay.
Here along with our guest co-host, Ace Newbold, Anthony Newbold, president of the Bahamas Press Club. When we left off, Ace, we were talking about just the whole, I'm not going to sit here because you know what? I'm not in anyone's mind. You know what I mean?
That's true.
If I were, I wouldn't be sitting here because I'd be making a whole lot of money.
A whole lot of money, right?
But we're talking about the actual happenings of what occurred in the last 24 hours or so, where 6 or 7?
I think 7 of them. 7
of the Free National Movement parliamentarians submitted a letter to the Governor General stating that they no longer had, the technical stuff, no longer had confidence in the leadership.
No longer had confidence in the leader.
And hence, essentially, in one fell swoop, the official opposition changed from the Free National Movement to whatever that is left. First of all, they got to come up with a name.
Yeah, I guess they have to now.
We could do a little game on that. What kind of name do you think we can have?
Boy, listen, it'll be a fun game, but
you can't say Free FNM. You can't say that.
No, it ain't
Remember
free
they had
FNM.
the Free PLP?
Yeah.
Because if you say Free FNM, that'll be Free National Movement. That don't sound good.
Yeah, as far as they're concerned, they're still members of the Free National Movement.
Well, I think what their concern is not really what is.
Yeah, what is, right? Yeah, they're being invited to resign.
And when you invite someone to resign, nothing good can come out of that if you don't, right?
Nothing will. They could call it our party, which is what it is. But I don't listen. I don't. As an outside observer, obviously we both are. I don't understand what the end game is, other than they're just. I can say pissed. I just said it.
Well, yeah, you can say.
They just mad at you with Minnis and Dr. Minnis, and they want to get rid of him. But I don't know what that does. If they say, listen, we are proud FNMs and we are looking to make sure that our party is the next government, I don't know how dropping this grenade in the midst of what is happening now, how that helps that effort.
Do you think there's any validity, and I assume that once, let's assume they believed or believe that the FNM would win the next election. Would it have been any... This is prior to this move. Let's be prior to that. Wouldn't it have been wiser to make that kind of move later?
Well, I believe they didn't think the FNM would win with Dr. Minnis as leader, certainly in the House of Assembly.
Yeah, but here's the deal. If you want to win, you have to weigh what is going to cause you to win. Do they think that move caused them to win?
as you said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not making a judgment on it.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's a question.
Yeah,
right?
no, I asked the same question. What do you think you're going to achieve?
If you on the basketball team, going back to the basketball metaphor.
That's fine.
Now, right?
We both play basketball.
Yeah, and you have
40 years ago.
And you have 2 7-foot centers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you ain't doing too well with them.
Right.
Okay, and you got the rest of the team, the remaining 3 team are, 5'8", heavy set, whatever. You're running around the court. Okay, you can't make it. Do you believe? Okay, you know what? We ain't doing too good with these 2 7-foot centers. So let's get rid of them, and then we can win the game with 3 people or 3 people and whoever else we can get. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because it isn't like you're getting some other recruits, right?
Well,
you just cutting the center.
Yeah.
You're not saying, okay, well, we bringing in Abdul Jabbar, right? You're just cutting the centers and saying we gonna win with what we got. So how is that logical?
I don't know.
That's a lot of venom, man.
Yeah, well, probably is. But I just, again, I look at the team. I look at the 7 of them, and I think of them going up against the PLP and DNA or whomever.
Yeah. And of course, that means now you have a 3-way split, by the way.
Yeah. If nothing else, from what I can see, it makes it a little easier for the Progressive Liberal Party to be returned.
Oh yeah.
As the government of the Bahamas in 2017, no matter what anybody else says or does, because,
and
I think we all agree.
I like you said, you weren't here to give advice to the FNM. I'm not here to give advice to the PLP. No. But if I were to be giving advice to the PLP, what I would say to them is, don't say nothing.
Don't say a thing, right?
Don't say nothing, man.
Yeah, don't say.
Because you might say something that might cause something else to happen. If say nothing,
which unfortunately is what the PLP is prone to do, right?
Okay. If you say nothing, just wait, let it slide.
Let it slide, right?
But I'll tell you what's interesting, and we talked about this. You talked about it as we were just about to go off the air onto the break, and that is, it's what the people who are powerless in regard to these moves. Okay, I can guarantee you. Let me rephrase that. I don't know how much consultation there was with the people on this. I think it took everyone by surprise, even in the high-ranking hierarchy of the FNM, even those who support that team were not aware.
It probably did, but once Edison Key said he was off the team,
yeah,
so that possibility became more of a probability.
Right. So when you do that, the people then say, "What is going on? What do these people?" Again, these are not prescriptive statements or these are observational statements. But as a citizen, you start to question, well, are they concerned about our interests or their interests? And that's on both sides. So,
and they will say, the 6 of them will say, yes, we believe that a good, strong, free national movement, certainly in opposition right now, later when we win the government, and this is not me, I'm just saying this is talking for them. This is the best way because we're thinking about the people of the Bahamas. And we're doing this because this is the only way we think we can
we
can
do
present
that, right.
The kind of strong opposition we should be
presenting. So you mean to tell me that because you're not the leader or you're not whatever, that you can't show a strong opposition while you're in the House just showing it? I mean, you have to be. I don't know how that works. I mean, that all of a sudden things are going to change.
Obviously they can't.
Okay.
Because they didn't.
Right.
The FNM's opposition to the Progressive Liberal Party since 2012, if I'm being nice, it's been anemic.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been non-existent.
Okay. Listen, we're going to take a break. We got the news.
I was just getting into it, man.
Yeah, well, see, we got the news. You know how this thing go. And we'll be right back. Ace Newbold, Anthony Newbold, president of the Bahamas Press Club and of ZNS Ilk. with us today as co-host. Our guest scheduled to come on is Ian Poitier, who heads the National Development Plan Cultural Division, I suppose you can call it.
Or component.
You know, I was saying to you off the air, and I didn't intend to say it on the air, but I will say it now, is I have a great deal of despair. I try to temper it because you, like for instance, you said you just came from Brussels. You were in Rwanda. You travel around. And the reality is, look, yes, I get it. We're better off than Haiti. I get it. We're better off than a lot of other countries. We've got, okay? But that's not the goal. That's not the objective, to be better off than crap.
It shouldn't be.
You know what I mean? You want to aspire to be the best. And I see a lot of slippage, man. I'm not even talking about the obvious stuff. What's his name? David Allen was on our show. Mm-hmm. And he talked about, a way to stop crime is to get someone a job. Once someone has a job, chances are they're not going to be engaged in criminal activity as much, or some entrepreneurial effort, right?
Right.
And I see that we do everything opposite to grow our economy. We discourage. I'm saying this very candidly. We discourage business.
Well, where does that mindset come from? Who first of all, you think of the system we use to govern ourselves. Who's running the system? And then you go and think of not only who's running the system, who those people in the system that determine whether you get your proposal through. First of all, you go into the bank, they're not going to give you any money unless you're one of their people. And then you go to a government agency, Ed, to get your approvals for whatever. It's going to take you forever if you ever get it.
This is an awakening right now, and this is why I'm supportive. I'm saying it very, very candidly and very openly, supportive of this new movement in its infancy. Okay, and it is infancy, and it will have a lot of falling down, crawling, standing up, crawling, falling down scenarios, and it may not even get to a point where something has to happen, because I'll tell you why. It came to my realization, Anthony Newbold, about maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago, that the number one industry in the Bahamas is what?
Other than talking, you mean?
Well, but the number one industry, government. The number one industry in the Bahamas is government. Okay. It is the largest employer.
Well, it's the largest employer.
Okay. And it is the largest absorber of our tax dollars. It is the largest economic, it's not a driver, it's an economic vacuum, okay? It is the largest sucker of our resources, okay? And here's the deal. It is like a parasitic scenario. The parasite does not care that you're dying. Okay, the parasite, when it latches onto you, is latching onto you for the simple reason that it needs you as a host to survive.
And after you said all of that, so we need leadership across the board in the Bahamas, because leadership focuses people like yourself who has these ideas and understands what's wrong. Leadership everywhere focuses all of the energies and abilities of its citizenry to get things done. Right now, we seem to just be floating somewhere in space.
Because Anthony Newbold, I like to call both names, I don't know why.
That's all right.
Because, Anthony, our system, this is the one thing that I focus on over and over. I'm never going to stop. It's like, you're a professional newsman, okay? You're look at your Bahamas Press Club. This is your focus. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't impact other things, but
sure.
This is your focus.
Right.
My focus is our system, our political and our democracy. Our political system, our democracy.
Should we be a republic?
I don't know what we should be, but I know what we shouldn't be.
Which is what we are now.
Right. And the point of anything that you evolve, it shouldn't be, what we shouldn't be doing is giving absolutes. about what we should be or what we should be doing is constantly striving for that perfection, for that best scenario. We have a right to develop our own system. We don't have to adopt some, hybrid or whatever from other places.
Right. Is that what they're doing with the National Development Plan?
No, the National Development Plan is an IMF thing that you have to have. Okay, so people sit around, and I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's okay. What I'm talking about is, and I'm very serious about this, is when you look at this movement, and I'll give you an example. When you look at
the We
March, right? When you look at this movement, what you saw in the very beginning is, like people said, a march where basically people were venting their emotional thing. Mm-hmm. Then you see a list of like 30 or 40 demands, okay, because everyone's throwing in their thing. Now you see, if you look recently, you'll see that's whittled down to about 5 categories, okay? So it's maturing, okay? And you have to start, but one of the things that has to happen is we have to allow for the driver of this country, which is essentially now the public service, okay? You can't do anything without going through the public service. And the public service, and I'm not running for anything, I don't care. The public service, and I'm not talking about maliciousness on their part, right? But the public service is a parasite. It is not interested. It doesn't have a profit motive. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have, the one thing that it wants to do is maintain itself.
That is true. There's some maliciousness in the public service.
Yeah, I mean, but there's maliciousness everywhere.
Yeah,
right?
everywhere. But I don't want you to take that.
No. I'm not dismissing. I'm not dismissing.
Because there is some of that in there.
But the maliciousness is probably born still, Anthony Newbold, out of this survival mode. Like, you stepping on my territory now. You're getting on my territory. So don't come in here and tell me about ideas and all that, because now, you're threatening my livelihood. You're making me look bad.
Yeah, but that has to be dealt with anyway at some point, right?
But that's parasitic in nature, right?
All right, well, that's fine. But that's why we come back again to leadership, Mm-hmm. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs tried back in 2002. He said he had responsibility for the public service. He said, I'm going to reform the public service.
What happened?
That's a good
question. They
question.
probably reformed him.
Probably.
Because when I say that, I mean in the sense that he probably came to some realities that, how the hell, It is
a bureaucracy that large.
It's a behemoth.
It is a bureaucracy that large. Excuse me. I don't know how much reform you're going to do to that, but it needs some changing.
One of the other realizations that I've come to, and this is nothing new, and this is no prophetic or genius statement, is the fact that how hard the Bahamas is to govern because of its archipelago nature. Right now. I like to think way off the deep end, because it doesn't hurt me to think that way. So what?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? No one's listening any damn how. So okay. So here's the thing: we have a public service of about 40,000 people.
Okay.
Roughly. I'm going to make a real bold statement because I run in for nowhere. Okay, that a number of people, I'm not going to say a number, are not productive. Okay? Not because they necessarily don't want to be productive, but they weren't even hired to be productive. They're hired.
Yeah. But if we got 40,000, about 30,000 of them aren't as productive as they ought to be.
And I was actually thinking a similar number. But here's, someone made this quote. They said that Sir Lyndon Pinling was told by Forbes Burnham that he should never be able to lose an election because he had the biggest source of employment in the country.
True.
Okay? So the reality is the public service is essentially an employment pool. Okay? Let me tell you something.
It's one of them.
You go in front of a minister, and it doesn't matter whether it's FNM, PLP, DNA, if they ever get to be one, whomever, and you say something to them like, okay, I got $1 million I have that I want to give you for X. Mm-hmm. Watch their face. Their face immediately lights up because what they're thinking, how many people at my constituency I can hire for that? Okay? Depending on the project or whatever, how many people I could start hiring for that? Okay? We are a country of contracts, permits, licenses, plates.
Why would a politician eyes not light up?
Exactly.
It's about the numbers.
That's what I'm saying. It's about the numbers.
Yeah.
So it is not about production. It's not like, well, I need Ace Newbold to do this particular job. No. I need to give Ace Newbold a job. Okay? I don't need Ace Newbold. I need to give Ace Newbold. Now, I came up with this philosophy. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I am loath to believe that any political party who becomes the government, that their ultimate objective is not to make the Bahamas a better place.
And I agree with you that it has to be something.
They may not achieve that.
And they may be overwhelmed by the realities.
Yeah. But I believe that's where they're trying to go.
But you know why they get overwhelmed by their realities? Because they need to win again.
Exactly.
See, if you go in there with the premise that I don't need to win again, but that's why I'm going to even temper your scenario about it. You're loath to believe that the objective is not to better the Bahamas. I would say that's their second thing.
That's their second thing.
Yeah.
The
first thing is
to get elected.
I got to get elected. Okay? That's the first thing.
And
you put a term limit, right, of one term on a politician and see how much they get done.
They'll get done, right? Okay, so that's a good argument for term limits. I don't disagree with that. But you need to be elected before you can do anything.
Right.
But
once you get elected, man, there's a lot of sweet stuff.
Well, apparently so. But you got to be elected before you can do anything.
Right.
So you can't fault somebody for looking at wanting to be elected again.
You notice that very, very, except for Trump, we don't want to explain him. He's in another world altogether, from another planet.
I don't think any of us
except
can
for Trump,
explain him.
The very, 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 very wealthy don't bother with that foolishness because they got the plane. See, the Air Force One thing, that's a big thing, man. Everyone running for 2 terms. Once you've been in that plane.
You think it's just Air Force One, right?
Listen, once you've been in that plane, Ace,
$3 billion.
You won that plane. You do know what it is? Listen, Ace. You know what it is to call Air Force One your trance?
Say go park the trance over there.
Yeah, you say you want to go to Brussels. You just basically say you want to go to Brussels.
And there it is.
And about $40 million worth of stuff have to go with you.
True, including the beast.
Your ambulance, the beast, everything.
Yes.
Okay.
They all have to go with you.
So my thought process was, if we had to say bite the bullet, this is purely an exercise in garbage, and say to 30,000, 20,000 people, I tell you what, rather than coming to work every morning, reading the paper. And I'm gonna say this to you because I know you work with ZNS, so I could say this to you. Rather than reading the newspaper, getting that thick, hard cake. You know the cake that they sell? It's a thick cake. Okay?
No.
They don't sell that anymore?
Not that I know of.
Okay. They just come on trays, the big, thick, hard cake. Then planning your lunch. Okay? Because that's a good half hour or so where you can get the steamed pork chop or the baked chicken.
Or mutton.
Okay, or the mutton. So that's a half hour. And then you have the delivery process of the lunch, the eating of the lunch. Now it's time to go pick up the children from school.
That's right.
Okay? Now, when you go to pick up the children from school, if you get back, well,
you
good.
got a half hour.
Right. Now, for the people who don't have trance, they then spend another 20 minutes to a half hour planning who they can get a ride with. Ace, why are you laughing, man?
It happens.
Okay. Okay.
It happens.
Now,
I'm not saying it happens at ZNS. It happens.
Now, I'm not blaming one of those people. To show you how much I'm not blaming them is, you're paying them already, right? Send them home. Send them home and continue to pay them.
Yeah, and stop clogging up the system.
Continue to pay them.
Yeah.
Bit by bit, they'll die out. Okay? Continue to pay them. Every benefit they have now, continue to pay it.
Okay.
And the 10,000 or the 15,000 left, bump them up a little bit, and let them process things efficiently. That's the kind of wild thing that
Yeah, you mean find the efficient ones and give them space to perform. Yeah. You think that'll ever happen?
No. But yeah. I mean, but having said that, that extreme, it's like the fashion world, right? When you see a fashion show, you see these extreme
outfits,
designs, right?
Yeah.
But really, they're just kind of prototypes.
Yes.
For what is going to end up on the shelf.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to think extreme to get to something that is workable.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and I say this with as much candor as I can, because this is not a personal attack. What we're doing now, Ace Newbold, cannot be sustained.
And eventually it'll change,
I hope it changes, not collapses.
Well, that collapse may be part of the change.
Well,
sometimes you need the collapse in order to get the change you need.
Yeah.
That's what some of the FNMs are saying.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to be back. We got a little break. I have it in my ear. We have a break. Again, Dr. Poitier is supposed to be coming. He did email to say me that he was being held up because, he's on a panel and it's it started later, but which we didn't know was going to happen anyway. We'll be right back. Our co-guest host this afternoon, but the good thing about Ace Newbold is that he not only, and by the way, you got your full time today.
Yeah, we're not talking about any press things, though.
Yeah, well, come on, man. How much time do you want to talk about press things, man?
I want to talk about press things.
You come on here to self-promote the press thing? Come
all
on.
the time.
No, we will obviously morph into that at some point. But Ace is our guest co-host today. Of course, as you know, Roganne Smith is off recovering from her surgery. What is on there that you want to share with the people, Mr. Newbold?
I'm being reminded that under the Westminster system of England, once your parliamentary colleagues voted against you as leader of the opposition, the honorable thing for the leader to have done was to resign because he has no voice in the House of Assembly.
Resign from where?
I presume
he can't resign from his seat.
From the House,
or from his party, maybe. But you don't have to resign from your You don't resign from your seat.
Well,
I think you resign. I think the thing is you resign from the from the party, maybe.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And obviously, again.
And you know what? Let me tell you something.
These MPs believe.
Was that an MP who sent you that?
They're doing what is best for the party and what is best for the country.
Was that an MP that sent you that? You don't have to reveal it. You can say
it's a friend of mine.
Okay. With the MP at the end of the name.
It's a friend of mine.
I could
of my
care
friends
less.
are MPs.
Yeah, I could care less about this whole damn system. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, we need to fix the system.
The system has to. I think.
Well, we need to fix the system, but the people who people the system also have to respect the system. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
A question was asked of me at a function the other night, and it was with regard to. I forget the actual point of the question, but my response was to it. I don't think we have a democracy. I don't think there's a democracy in the United States. Let's go back to Plato and Aristotle. Well, let's go back to Aristotle, the Greek democracies. They certainly were not democracies. They were more democratic.
They were more democratic. I don't know that there is any pure democracy.
And we've learned that in the United States, what they thought was a democracy is a bunch of caca. They have something called the electoral system that was born out of an era of slavery, and 13 states. So we've been cajoled. Do you think we've been cajoled into believing that we have a democracy?
Of course we have, because whatever system we've had has worked enough to keep the natives from becoming too restless.
Flat screen TV?
Well, flat screen TV too.
Yeah.
Whatever we have kept the masses in check. So why would we not believe that?
A reporter from the Financial Times in 1985, that's when Shogun was happening?
Yes.
Said
Cable
to me,
Beach.
I was driving my Volkswagen Gol at the time, and he was in the car with me, and we were heading down by Goodman's Bay.
Okay.
And he said to me, and again, this is observational, he goes, the people in the Bahamas complain that they're being oppressed. And what he wanted to know was, how is it that an oppressed people could be controlled by one government for 25 years without an army? Okay? He said, how is it that these people who are saying they're oppressed and really, up in arms can be oppressed for 25 years with a leader who doesn't have an army holding people back, right?
So I, in a flash, Anthony Newbold, I said to him, well, that's because everyone has a satellite.
Yeah,
You know what I
okay.
mean? We're going to Miami, man.
Hey, to shop at the end of every month.
So you see how distorted our reality is?
Well, it is.
Our view of oppression is what?
Not being able to go to Miami, but only half of the people felt oppressed.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, the other half didn't feel oppressed. Same thing today. And that's usually the way it is.
Right.
Half of the country is with the government, usually half, approximately half in this instance today.
Mm-hmm.
The other half,
They're surviving.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes this is what I say.
Mm-hmm.
With the people who generally don't feel as if they're oppressed,
Mm-hmm.
they swimming, as you say, they taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're not going to act. They're not going to do anything. The people who feel they're oppressed, if enough of them act like we march,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get some results. But we haven't gotten to the point up until we march where we felt we had to march. And that was something that could make a difference.
Right.
Some people still don't think it will make a difference.
Well, I mean, there's always, and it may not, and it may. I mean, that's not the point, right? The point is people are trying to make a difference.
People are trying to make a difference.
You never want to, I never listen to people like this. Is one group of people I never listen to, and those are people who, before something can even come to fruition, they want to dismiss it.
Yeah.
And then these are the same people who are saying, well, we need to make a change.
Yeah.
And ain't nothing happening. So you kind of just push.
How else are you going to make a change?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I saw some information earlier today where I'm not sure whether it came from the leader of the We March.
Mm-hmm.
He was listing a number of things that have been responded to,
Mm-hmm.
that have been changed after that We March 2 Fridays ago.
All right.
And so things will happen.
Yeah.
Governments,
And you have to press it. You have to keep pressing.
You do. And governments do react to what people want. They may not give you everything that you want. That's usually my seat, but you can sit right there, right, and use my microphone over there. This is Rogan's microphone I'm using tonight.
But the thing is that at its simplest form, the issue of the squeaky wheel, right?
Yes.
If at the end of the day you are apathetic, if you are sans souci, you have no care.
Yeah.
If you and we've been lulled. The Bahamas probably is in this kind of nuanced, unique scenario because we have had good fortune for so many, many, many years. And despite many of us, in fact, one of our guests, or not one of our guests, our guest today could probably attest to this, despite knowing that things are substandard, we are prepared to accept the substandard because personally we're okay. Okay? You go into people's homes, the biggest thing is now, I got this 55-inch. How much bigger the 60-inch is than that? Because I don't know if
how many more $100 I have to spend.
Well,
Right?
they ain't worried about that. They can find that.
They can find that.
But first of all, if I have enough space to put the 60, okay? So, it's not about, growth and I'm not saying that you don't have the right to do that, but it's so, we're so, just enveloped with that we don't see other stuff.
And you talk about things that you have your hobby horses. This is mine.
Yeah.
That's why we need leadership.
Yeah.
Because left to their own devices, people will do that. Nothing. They will do what amuses them. They will do what gives them fun.
And in fact, the leaders who want to exploit that will give them fun.
And
that's what the gladiators were.
The leaders have exploited it because they do understand that.
Yeah.
That's why
the beginning of time.
That's why we need good patriotic leadership all across the board.
Well, I'll close by saying this because I know we're going to shift to our guest. While we do need good leadership, and this is where maybe, and again, I'm going to go back to this issue of We March. I warned all of my friends in the political arena, do not dismiss this. It would be unwise to dismiss it. But this is where I think the direction there needs to be. How do citizens participate? How do they take the resources that exist out there, and instead of it being, clumped in a compressed grouping of people with limited amount of ideas just by their sheer size, not by their inability, that they include more people into the mix, more ideas into the mix, and not feel that there's some sort of territorial hold on the rule, so to speak.
Well, you go march and make your presence felt.
Exactly.
Right.
We'll be back. Our guest is Dr. Ian Poitier. Why did you say doctor? Where that came from? Where the hell did that come from? Yeah, you can be a doctor.
We
okay?
were talking about something.
Yeah, Ian Poitier, who is, and you got to straighten me up on the titles, who the National Development Plan, Cultural Development component. So we'll be right back, and we'll talk about how that's going. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ian Poitier is our guest. He is the cultural key. It is the National Development of the Bahamas Plan. Cultural key? Is that the phrase?
My role. Good evening.
Yeah,
Hello.
good evening. Yeah.
What I've contributed is a strategy to develop the cultural infrastructure. Mm-hmm. I did that separately in my role as head of cultural development, working for the government, and I work across government. The government hired me to do that. The team at the National Development Plan, obviously, we started talking quite early on, and they said we want to incorporate this work into the plan. So that's now what's happening. Okay. But this has not been, I've used a different methodology from the one that they have, and there's still a debate going on as to whether perhaps culture should be one of the pillars of the plan, or whether culture should be something that crosses across the plan, so it kind of takes in all the different elements.
Cross, yeah. Let me. I told you that I was going to ask you a hard question.
Yeah, bracing myself.
And the hard question is, you got a nice book here. You say I don't even phrase it right. A nice book.
No, it's beautiful.
Okay. A 57-page book, of which you're featured on the 57th page, which is unusual. It's usually put that on the front page. But how do I know that a year from now, this can be another book in a shelf of many other books?
So here's the thing. First of all, there are 24 initiatives in there. Not all of them can or should be done by government. I don't come from traditional kind of governmental background. I'm used to raising money myself for my projects. I'm used to doing it myself and being accountable myself. So that's my kind of instinct. If we take culture as the way we live, everything that kind of affects who we are, what we want to be, our expression of national identity, those initiatives cut across that. So it's not just about performing arts or the arts. One of the, it's divided into kind of 6 categories, one of which is about society. And one of the initiatives I'm proposing is a diaspora conference. So we know that we lose about 6% of our GDP from the brain drain. People are educated here, they go abroad, people like me, stay for 30-something years, and then, don't really kind of have a sustained contribution to the country. Based on what some other countries do, I'm proposing we set up an annual conference where people come home for, say, a long Easter weekend. They talk about what they do. They bring their address books and network. They go out to schools, community organizations or whatever and say, this is possible. Look at the amazing things Bahamians are doing. You can do it as well. And they put some money in. And they contribute some know-how. And they open doors for other people. There's a scholarship here. There's a job offer here. I know of a friend of mine from London. She works in New Zealand. She writes legislation for the New Zealand Parliament. There's somebody who I don't know who's a top chef in Washington. People are doing incredible things. And we can get that know-how, get their knowledge, their experience, their contacts, and their contributions back here by having something like a standing conference. That doesn't have to be done by government. Tomorrow, Ed Fields Inc. could set up that conference and make it a for-profit exercise. My point is, in putting this out there, is that as a policy step, as a thing that needs to happen, a space which would help the country, that kind of activity can be done. So, to take that example kind of further, that's one way I propose it, put together a conference. Well, the Ed Fields, Inc. could be, okay, rather than just a conference, I'm going to do a Bahamian diaspora financial network. where Bahamians abroad are going to put some money into a capital fund and they're going to invest it into Bahamian businesses. Ed, your eyes are moving. You're going to do this, aren't you?
No, I don't. Because I'm not in the diaspora. Yeah. So, I know what you're saying.
But you're tapping people around the world, right? Each give us, $1,000. We've got suddenly a serious capital fund of quite a lot of money that you can invest on their behalf. They get a return. We get the benefit of that capital. And so it works. So that's what this infrastructural strategy is about. It's creating transformational spaces, initiatives, schemes, structures that everybody can benefit from.
The question that you see me looking not quizzical, but contemplative.
Yeah.
Okay. Is, and maybe this is because we've been so damaged, I use that word, right? is A, why hasn't it been done if it doesn't require government to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And B, I have this kind of unfortunate paranoia that if someone were to do it, that at some point the toxins of, I'm going to be, I can't help myself, right? The toxins of government will somehow filter in, and then it starts, because this is what seems to happen now.
Okay,
having said that, assuming that it won't happen, why then? A, let's focus on A. Why hasn't it happened?
So I don't know. I don't know why. You can't answer negative. But I'll say some other things. So you need some help through your stuff. You're angry and all that kind of stuff. My job, and the benefit I hope I can bring back, is that having lived in another country, which is, tried a lot of these things, I can bring the benefit of that. I used to work for the National Endowment for Science, Technology and the Arts in the UK under the Blair government. I set up the Creative Industries Investment Fund. I had about £10 million to invest every year. Creative industry is now bringing about £80 million per hour into the UK economy. So I learned some stuff along the way. I made some mistakes, but hopefully the benefit of things that worked, I can also help to bring back here. Now, exactly.
But I don't want to interrupt you. You're bringing that. But the reality is you're doing it as a government.
No. What I'm bringing,
agent at this point.
What I'm bringing is the strategic imperative to say this space is beneficial. This thing, this kind of work is useful. How it happens, I'm quite agnostic about. But just to finish the point. I think there are a host of reasons, perhaps, why it hasn't actually happened. I know somebody actually who has had this idea. I think we need more entrepreneurial confidence in the country, and government can get out of the way of quite a lot of that. But government can also stimulate a lot of that. I'll give you a small example. In one of I've been back now for 2 years, and when the government first approached me in London, Ryan Pinder was part of the conversation. And we were talking about the creative industries, and he pointed out that there's a tax levied on paint, which is the same for household paint and for oils for artists.
Because it's paint. Right. It's spelled paint.
But those are two different industries. Household paint is by people wwho are kind of building their house. They can afford it or whatever.
And that's your artists
who are struggling, that very little bit of money that the government gets, which is not a lot, is the difference between them eating and not eating. Right. So if we took that tax away, suddenly a lot of artists have access to materials in a way that's really helpful.
My good friend, I was in... what's the place called on Village Road that sells the music equipment? You know what I mean. It's a big spot. It's on Soldier Road. It's a music shop.
Soldier Road.
Yeah, on Soldier Road, right by opposite Burger King.
On the plaza.
So I go in there and I was overwhelmed that they had this place, and I said, and the guy tells me, all these things have duty on it. Yeah. I go, well, how much possible duty could the government be getting on this in terms of the amount of sales compared to what the benefit could be if they were allowing musical instruments?
Who's thinking about that?
But this is the thing. But I think I'm not here to defend the government. But what I'm saying is that but there is a strategic function in government which is long term, which is about 50,000 feet high, where you're looking at all these kind of opportunities. So many government policymakers are dealing with the day-to-day. There's a strike, there's something's broken down, there's a kind of emergency, and that takes a lot of attention and focus. People like me, who nobody's ever voted for, who's kind of had quite a lot of education at my country's cost, that's the space that we're meant to kind of inhabit. And there are a lot of really smart people in this country who are thinking these things.
Right, but let me say this to you, and I don't want you to think that this is not an issue of personalities.
Sure.
This is an issue of function.
Sure.
Okay? There are many people on a daily basis who will go and say, for instance, these are some of these things are no-brainers.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, let me give you an example: sporting equipment. It's a no-brainer. Okay, it's a no-brainer to say, and see, we're saying it now. That's how much of a no-brainer it is. I'm saying it, okay? It's a no-brainer to say that high schools or sporting organizations, right, should be able to bring in sod for their field duty-free or baseball bats duty-free. You shouldn't have to.
Why?
Because why? It engenders the capacity for more and more kids to be involved in an activity, thereby taking them off the streets, thereby reducing crime, et cetera, et cetera, et
No,
cetera.
but you've put together two thoughts there. One is the fact that the activity should happen,
Right.
and the second thought you put in is that therefore the goods to support that activity should be duty free. Those two aren't necessarily given. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying there are two separate strands there.
Fine,
Now, I would say the same about musical instruments.
And I say in musical and paint.
And paint.
And paint.
So I would. That's my thing. But you know.
But yet the duty is still on paint.
So what I was going to say in response to that is. A lot of these things are historical. They were always there. They're buried under Chapter 33, paragraph subsection A, or whatever. So a lot of people don't actually know that that's there, apart from the person tapping it in the computer in the back room. The second thing is that there needs to be a push from civil society, from lobby groups, from whoever to say, wait a minute, this sports thing is a national priority. Let's clear the decks, get it in. It's going to do more kind of good than harm. You know, what we lose in the tax, we
I'm so
gain
glad
in
we're having this
character.
conversation.
So, but what I'm saying, but that's a job. Someone's got to do that.
But the job has been done, and the point I'm making to you, and I can tell you this as a member of civil society, right? That we have sporting organizations for the last 100 years. That every time there's an event here, every time there's a group here doing it, they're up against this battle. So I would simply say, so before we move on to another topic, is I am going to put a challenge to my good friend, who I met quite a while ago in the auspices of a particular building, okay, to say, you go and say to those folks, listen, artists, paint, move the duty. Now let's see how long it takes. It's a no-brainer. The point I'm making is you're going to find that in the system, okay, there's a kind of not an Ian Poitier who gets that,
of course,
okay, as opposed to a technocrat who's looking at, well, are we going to be, downgraded by Moody's?
So
are we going to lose 50 million in revenue?
Or 500,000?
And it's probably not that much. So
exactly.
I cut my teeth early on this in the UK with World AIDS Day. My job was with the National AIDS Trust, and I arrived kind of volunteer. Friends of mine in New York were doing the Red Ribbon, and I said, let's launch the Red Ribbon as to mark World AIDS Day. The British government at the time, Conservative government, panicked. Well, we don't know what that is, why you want to wear a ribbon, what kind of symbols are that, or whatever. We had to pull a lot of levers. I had to learn how government worked. I had to learn that the person who makes the decision is not the minister. It's somebody who gives advice in a back room who suddenly said, ooh, wait a minute, are we encouraging people to have sex if they wear ribbons for World AIDS Day? And it was my role to find that little back room and say to that person, don't be so silly. It's going to be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Screw you. See, I'm telling you, I'm not. I gotta cut him. See, you see what I did to him. I just made him wise. I made him wise very quickly. Okay. Yeah.
Listeners, your host is a really bad man.
Yeah.
Really bad man. He flashed a sign at me.
Yeah, he's on his side because the thing is, I know. Yeah. I know the back. Yeah, I know the back. Believe me, I'm dealing with it every day.
But what I'm saying is, so we have two options. One, we throw up
our
hands.
We don't give up. No, we don't give up.
Throw up our hands and we give up and we say, oh, it's too hard.
No.
Or we say, actually, we care. We really care about this. In the cultural world, and you've come across this as well, people think that what I do is a bit of fun. They don't think it's serious.
No, it's serious. It's an industry.
It's dressing up and pretending.
It's an industry.
And then I kind of say, actually, I live really well on my dressing up and pretending. And people are quite shocked. And I say, you know what? Because I work hard. I work really, really hard. And actually, I've got a little bit good because of working hard. Right. And there's a business there. I don't do it when I feel like it. I do it every day. Right. And that's discipline. I get up early. I write scripts. I put on stuff. That's it.
What are the other 5 recommendations you have for the development plan?
So there are 24 initiatives. The 5 categories, 24. Oh, but these are just the beginning. So the categories are people, which is about developing talent and skills. And I've set a vision for each one, that we have the best educated, most talented, most highly skilled population in the world. The second is about content. So us making creative stuff. And what do we need to do that? And there are initiatives around each one. The third is about spaces. How do we make our creative, cultural, and heritage spaces, places that we want to live and also make money from. The fourth is the economy, and that's a lot of stuff around creative industries, entrepreneurship, et cetera, et cetera. The fifth is about society, so that's where my prejudices come in. It's about social inclusion and not discriminating against people, treating each other well. Conflict resolution, being less violent, being nicer to foreigners. The sixth one is international, using our culture to promote our status in the world. We can project a lot of soft power. I think we should have a much greater leadership role in the Caribbean. And I have to watch my words now.
No, you don't have to do it.
If America,
we have you covered.
If America, under its new president, becomes more isolationist, more insular, then that will have consequences for the Bahamas. And we have other neighbors. We have a neighbor just to the south of us who is kind of looking to open up. Culture is the way we connect.
Well,
and
I'll
culture is
share
the way
some
that
stuff with
actually.
you. Yeah.
But that's where trust is. We could be the foreign direct investors in Cuba.
Well, also too, the thing about culture that I think is critical when I first got involved with the DNP, the Downtown Nassau Partnership, and we were looking at what is this all about. One of the things we noted right away, and I think I may have even had this discussion with you, is that we were focused all the time on what we can do for the visitor.
Yes.
The reality is what we have to focus on, first of all, is inward.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Because this is the example I always use. They did not build the Louvre for tourists.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
That was built for Parisians.
Yes.
And tourists get to enjoy it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And we have to build for us.
Yes.
And then our visit, because what that creates is this single word that I'm sure is probably ubiquitous in here, and that is authenticity.
I've used it a few times, but yes. But
Okay.
even authenticity for me is sort of something we describe to outsiders. Just being ourselves.
Being
it's not something
ourselves.
we have to describe. That's
No,
who we are,
you don't describe it. It's not a
and,
thing.
So people always say.
How far did you get with that, Ed?
With the authenticity piece? Well, what we did was
I'm talking about building for ourselves.
Well,
as
I'll
opposed
give
to
you an
thinking
example.
First,
Well, I'll tell you what we did. First of all, someone said to us when we were doing Pompey Square, just to give you a quick example, you need to create in Pompey Square 10 points of interest. Well, aside from that being absurd, because Pompey Square is as big as this room, okay? I said, we don't need to build anything. Pompey Square can become one of the points of interest because we have 10 historical churches downtown. We have Parliament buildings. We have the water tower. We have forts. We don't need to. But this is where I don't want to go, because this is where I say, when you deal with partnerships, there's only so far you can go unless you have resources to go that place. So we right now, Pompey Square is Pompey Square was named because it's next to Pompey Museum, because it's dealing with the Pompey the slave.
Right.
And the juxtaposition there that no one even gets, for instance, is right opposite Pompey Square and Pompey Museum is Government House, where Pompey had to come to make application to Lord Smythe to overturn a transaction trying to sell him as a slave.
But
the story is not
there. Do you
there.
know why we don't get it? Because nobody tells that story. And it's in my cultural development strategy document that we have to agree on
Tell the
national
story.
story and tell it. Every American can tell you about the founding fathers and Turkey and the Statue of
Every
Liberty.
story, good,
Every
bad,
story.
or
because,
different.
or even untrue.
Exactly.
They can tell it to you. But, we need to do that. And so this is something I've been trialing during the independence celebrations that I've been directing. I've proposed 5 strands for our national story. The first is about Old World, New World, so the Cayans meeting Columbus. The second is about Paradise Islands, which describes the way we live and look. The third is about the age of piracy. And I think that's not just about Blackbeard and what they were doing. It's an attitude that we still have. That kind of anarchic, go and have a good time. And
Vice.
Vice.
Vice. Vice is more.
The fourth is I call the age of settlement, which is about our forefathers. And I say whether you came here in the top of the boat or the bottom of the boat, you're Bahamian. And that all of the stuff that we brought kind of infused this.
How many people know about our connection to the Gullah Islands in Charleston, South Carolina, for instance, and then the Barrier Reef?
Not enough.
Those of us who
And
care,
that's where our food comes from.
of course.
Yeah.
We think we just invented macaroni and cheese and peas and rice. So there's
And
you go to
grits and all the rest
it's a
of it.
lot of stuff. I hope you tell the story.
So I'm working with Arlene Nash Ferguson, who is a national treasure, who knows everything. Arlene, I hope you're listening. I'm sorry I didn't tell you I was doing this.
Yeah.
But once we codify that, then I'm also working with people like Chris Curry at the University of the Bahamas. How do we get that into a narrative? We tell that story, working with Antiquities to say, well, let's get that out. We're looking at a TV series. Then we're looking at how do we train that as part of the Bahama Host program. I'm on the board at Clifton. How do we get that up there so that people can see it, read it, experience it, whatever, in our schools program? What I'm saying is that in order to make these things happen, first you've got to think it, and then somebody has got to be really geeky and don't mind sitting in a room
You?
for yeah.
Okay.
I have no friends. It's really
Somebody
sad.
needs to lead it, Ian.
Somebody needs to lead it.
We will never get away from that.
Well, then he's
all
the
of the
lead-
Of
brilliant
course.
ideas, and that's you.
Of course.
That's you. What you're doing.
But this is stuff that I spring out of bed to do because I love it.
And that's why you should be one of the leaders.
And also, this is, people used to tease me in the UK because every theatre program, everything I ever do, the first line always says, Ian was born in the Bahamas. And they always keep saying, well, why do you do that? Because, nobody...
Because that's where you're from.
But also, coming around back at the stage door was somebody who had once been to the Bahamas. And my old school, primary school teacher showed up at the stage door. I had no idea who this lady was. She said, I used to teach you when you were 4.
I'll never forget the moment when I went to see Les Miserables.
Yeah.
And I knew that Mr. Pinder was in the
Yep.
play, but I thought, this is my ignorance now,
Thought he'd be
I
in the
thought
back.
he'd be like a tree. You know what I mean? Of course, I thought he would be like a tree. So I'm in had good seats. He arranged it for us. I get good seats. I'm sitting there in I don't know, was it the New World Theatre? I don't know what theatre it was.
It depends when you saw it. But
And this would have been in the late 90s,
At the Palace,
early
at
90s,
the
right?
Palace, yeah.
And out walks the first character, Jean Valjean, and I'm, and it's him, okay? So
he was the second lead in Les Mis. I
Yeah,
mean, that's a Bahamian
yeah,
guy.
yes. Okay.
Antoine Strawn
Yeah.
was dance captain on The Lion King. I used to take people as my kind of, favorite
Yeah.
tourist outing. Bahamians would come. And I say, oh, we're going to go back now and say hello to people. Like, you're Bahamian?
And
You know,
these
are amazing people
and these
doing
are
stuff.
folks who should be welcomed back in every regard.
And I will tell you, because I know both of them, they are willing to come back, and they come back. When I came back home, I said, listen, folks, okay, I'm going to need you to help me. I'm not asking you to move back like I am, but come back and teach or whatever. Everyone has put their hand up. Not one person has said no.
No, of course not. So we just have to create the environment, the space, as you
And
put
this
it.
is where government can help.
Yeah.
It's not just this current government, but previous
Any
governments.
yeah.
They've all sort of, they've got to reach out and kind of just sort of say, okay, we'll let it happen. And I tell you, I've been coming back for the last sort of 10 years, working on the Kasika Awards or whatever, and I've worked for the current administration and the previous administrations, and people kind of really pull down politicians, and they're open to criticism, of course. But I've never met one who didn't actually certainly say to me that they had the interest of the country at heart,
So
and I kind of buy that.
Here's the selling point. Before you came on, we talked about the number one industry in the Bahamas right now is government. It's okay.
Yes.
What has to happen is, for all the government, and I'm being generic here, but for all the government's heartfelt, good intended desire to employ people, they have to realize that people can be employed in places other than in government. The reality is the theater, the cultural arts.
No control of them.
Well, that's another thing.
but it's
But the
also-
cultural theater, the cultural
Of course.
realm is an industry.
So here's the thing. We can also do that. I've been surprised at the number of people I see sitting in the waiting room of government ministries looking for a job. Because
surprised?
Well, no, because that's kind of people's instincts. But what I'm saying is that we also need to encourage people's entrepreneurial instincts. I was in the first year of junior achievement here in high school when we were an experiment, and that's all about setting up businesses and doing it for yourself. But we need to enable all of that and give, and I'm not talking about give permission, but give space to people to do it. Have that pioneering instinct. Why don't we get up and go to Andros and start digging and kind
Well,
of make
you and
something?
I can have many conversations because I believe the same thing. But I also believe this, that because we are who we are, because we are at an incubator stage, that incubation is required. So this is the incubator.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you've got to allow the baby to grow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And you've got to, at some point, let the baby leave the house.
Yeah.
And grow.
Throw them out of the nest.
Right.
Yeah.
So we support you. I think Anthony Newbold, you support.
Yeah. Absolutely. But that's where governments come in. Unfortunately, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think it's also so one of my big things at the moment. I say to people, every opportunity that's ever come into my life has come because of education.
Right.
I don't come from wealth. I don't come from anything other than
None of us do.
there were high standards at home, and also the understanding that this is your liberation.
Yeah.
And because of that education, I've literally been able to walk with kings and queens,
Yeah.
and make
Well,
a
let me
living.
ask you this question before you go.
Yeah.
You ain't under Sidney Poitier.
Family teeth.
Okay. We have to edit on some kind of light note. Your name
That's good.
Poitier. So.
That's good. But but seriously, thank you so much for inviting me in.
Yeah, we'll have you back.
But it's something for everybody to participate in.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna flash another sign at you.
go for it.
I got you 2 out of 3, boy.
We're good friends.
Okay.
We're good friends.
Anyway, well, listen, Ian Poitier, you're more than welcome to come
Thank
back.
you.
Tell
Thank
us
you.
what's
Appreciate
happening
it.
along the way.
Cool.
And as you said, let's find ways to get people to have an entrepreneurial view. Ace New Ball, I know you're going to be
Space.
back.
Yeah.
I know you're going to be back.
Absolutely.
And
didn't talk about Brussels at all.
yeah, well, I did. I talk about how you get you shafted me
That's
again.
Rwanda.
Yeah, I got the Rwanda, whatever this is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a key there, man. Brussels next time.
Yeah, listen, Kendrick, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on what's today? Thursday. We'll see you on
this is
Monday.
Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see you on Monday.